Good evening, everyone. We are once again live. Let me go ahead and get everything switched over to the correct layout, and we will get started with the drawing stream for today. Alright, we've got video. I have the BGM running in the background. Let me know if I need to turn it up or down. I see Sour Lad's in the chat. What's up, Sour Lad? How are you doing today? Welcome to the stream. Hey, Lava King's here too. What's up, Lava King? Good evening to you. So what are we doing today? As you can tell by the title of the stream, we are once again returning to the world of Pokemon Infinite Fusion Sprites. Starlight says, I'm doing fine, and you? I'm doing fine. Actually got out of work early today, but I wanted to start the stream early, but I fell asleep. So we're only a little early today. And that's all right. Okay, so what we have here, we're going to start off the stream with a couple sprites that I've drawn already. I'm doing some cleanup on these because I need to submit some revisions to the Discord so that I can get these approved. They've been pending for a few days now, and I got some stuff to fix on them. So I'll explain what we're working on, and then I'm going to explain what I want to do for the rest of the stream, since this isn't going to take too long. Sarlad says, how was the last art? How's the last art? Did they like it? Are you talking about the last round of sprites that we did? Of the last ones we did, I think that entire group, I don't remember exactly without looking at the archive what we did before, but I know that Honchcrow fusion that I think you were there for, that one got approved. Everything in that batch got approved. I'd have to go back and look, but this will be part of the next round. And then hopefully within the month, assuming they get approved before the end of November, they'll be there at the end of December when they do the big upload for new entries. Hey, Iconic's here. Evening, Iconic. How are you doing today? Yeah, that's when I was talking about. Sorry, lad. The Honchcrow Articuno fusion, the Mobster Icebird. That one did get approved, and I believe that one is part of the game now. I was telling Iconic on stream the other day when I was doing Infinite Fusion, I put a bounty challenge for the playthrough when we're running through the game, and I think I'll just leave it in place until I eventually am done with Infinite Fusion, but it's gonna probably be a while. The bounty, for those of you who weren't there, is if I run into one of my sprites in the game out in the wild, like in a random encounter, or I haven't randomized trainers, so their fusions won't be mixed up. But if I run into any of my fusion sprite designs in the wild, then I've got to gift 5 subs to the chat. So that is the challenge bounty. I had to rerun the randomizer in the last playthrough, so really everything is up for grabs all over the place. But that will be a thing for the remainder of the playthrough, and we'll see if it happens. I think the chances are low, but as I start getting more things added to the game, then the chances go up. And I've got a lot of sprites that are in the works that I'd like to be able to submit, and so we'll see what happens. But anyway, what we're looking at here recently in the Infinite Fusion Discord, the Cacnea and Cacturn line, I think they're grass and grass dark. I think the cactus Pokemon, those were added, and so a lot of people were doing fusions based on those. And because I really like bugs, I worked on a Pinsir Cacnea fusion, and I'll show you the Cacturn one in a sec when I get to it. And so that's what we're working on here. We're doing some cleanup on these so I can resubmit the updates in the Discord. Iconic says, I'm well, just doing Black Friday gifting. I saw that. You are very generous. I keep forgetting that the hectic retail season is coming up. I'm not a Black Friday shopper. I don't want to go out into the madness. But like Starlight is saying, I need to keep an eye out for Cyber Monday sales. And that will be something to think about. Okay, so for this one, I had some comments about the outline work, which I think does need to be cleaned up a little. And I think it has to do with the way the shadowing on these, the pincer horns look. I copied the assets from the actual game, which I guess the native sprites in-game do have kind of a slightly different way of shading sometimes than the rules of the Infinite Fusion Discord, because I've had that happen on some other ones where I didn't alter the shading and someone said, yeah, you need to fix the shading so that the lighting is consistent. So I'll need to get in the habit of doing that and checking it. That way I don't have to worry about the comment later. Hey, I see Red Dragon's here. What's up, Red Dragon? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well today. Starlight says the calendar in the office says Friday is the busiest of the year, so it's so Jover for me. Hopefully you're not working on the holiday itself, Sour Lad. That would suck. But yeah, as someone out there in the retail workforce, I will subconsciously lend you some energy on Friday, because I don't envy folks out in retail that have to deal with the masses. It's a zoo out there, at least in the States. I'm trying to do something about the stair stepping here. It's because of the line. The line on the face here doubles it up. There, I think that'll work. One of the people who commented on my post in the Discord didn't really give specifics, aside from some shading comments and the line work. So I'm going to kind of guess and do some updates, and then I'll put it out for comment again, and we'll see what happens. Lava King says, been feeling burnt out for working a lot in the past few weeks. I definitely know how that feels. Hopefully you get like a little bit of time off for the holidays coming up. I know from what I remember, you probably don't have tomorrow off, Lava King, because I don't think you're in the States. But as we get closer to Christmas and whatnot, hopefully you get a break. Everyone needs a break around the holidays. And Lava King asks, wait, Raku, aren't thou in the States? You talking about the United States? Yeah. I am, in fact, a filthy American. I'm here on the West Coast, in unspecified state area. Regarding the busy time, Starlight said the night gets as busy as lunch rush. That's interesting to me. I guess just a lot of traffic in general, just because people are out and about and running around, right? Starlight also says I've been betrayed by my coworkers, so we might be short unless someone wants to cover. Do you get like time and a half for working around holidays? I'm assuming Black Friday is not considered a holiday, but hopefully you don't get stuck working on the actual holidays. That would suck. But I'm assuming you get more pay if you do that. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm just slightly tweaking the shadows of the lines. It's a little bit tricky here because this one has the spikes that are on the hands. I don't think there's a ton we can really do with this one, but cleaning it up will, I think, at least make things consistent. Just as a kind of sneak peek for what I want to do after I finish cleaning up these existing fusions that I'm finishing, I would like the chat and the folks hanging out to think about some ideas for a fusion that I can work on from scratch, from the ground up. Gonna focus kind of on the weirder, more nightmare ones. Doesn't have to be a pincer fusion because I've done a lot of those, but if we can get like a bug type, since again bug's my favorite, I'll be open to suggestions, and then I can download the assets and we'll start fusing away and drawing them here on stream when I get done with these next two. So let me put in the chat a link to the fusion decks from Dina, and that way you folks can see what's in the game and actually look. What we're keeping an eye out for are fusions that don't have a custom sprite. So when you look down, it doesn't have a quoted artist, or it says PA Japiel. Yeah, Japiel. It says Japiel on the description. It means it's an auto-generated sprite. So I'll put it in the link in the chat so you folks can see the fusion index, and that way you'll be able to see. I'll open it up too when we get there and we'll kind of look. But just like last time, I'd be open to ideas and we could see what comes up to work on. So let me paste this in the chat. Oh, okay. Sarlad says Thanksgiving, not Friday. $50 in cash. I'm assuming you're talking about time and a half or premium pay for working on Thanksgiving, not Friday. Sarlad also says I found out that Arizona the drink has merch. Might buy some pillows and wait for them to restock their blankets. Are you talking about the tea, the Arizona teas? Those have an insane amount of sugar if you're not drinking the sugar-free ones. I used to drink those in the summer, but since I don't drink caffeine anymore, I can't drink those. I'm just checking over the line art, trying to see if any of the shadows need to be cleaned up. The shading, I think, is fine. I fixed up the stuff that was on this side. Again, just to recap for folks who might not have seen me do this before, light source for the Pokemon sprites and for the Infinite Fusion sprites has to be coming from this direction, the upper left. So you think of like a light shining down on the Pokemon, and so the shadows around the different sections need to reflect that. That's one of the rules. Our Dragon asks, what program are you using? I'm using Photoshop. This is the program that I've learned how to use to do sprite work, just because I've got it set up to be able to work at pixel level easily. If I was going to be doing something with animation or movement, which I haven't done a ton of yet, I would use a sprite. But for static stuff, that's just going to be exported as rendered pings. I use Photoshop for the Infinite Fusion type stuff. Since I own it, I might as well use it since I know how to get it to do what I want. But it is weird not working in layers. That does throw me every once in a while because, as you can see, we're all in the same layer, which makes it very dangerous if I'm not careful. But I think this one is good. We'll see. I'll probably submit it tonight and see if anyone has comments on the Discord. So this is Pinia. That's the name of this fusion. Cacnea, or Pinsir plus Cacnea. Right? So now its evolved form is Pinsir again, but the evolved form of Cacnea, which is Cacturn, the kind of bipedal looking cactus. And that one looks like this. This one is a bit more weird compared to the original one. Again, the kind of unusual nightmarish ones are sort of my thing when it comes to designing these. And so using the Cacturn as the base and Pinsir as the head, that's the order of these fusions. We have something that looks a bit more bug-like as opposed to cactus-like. What I did was on the face, hopefully you can see my cursor here, Cacturn by default has this sort of hat looking thing that it wears, and it's got like 2 eyes and a mouth. I basically completely redid the face and then gave it one glowing eye in the middle and gave it kind of these lines like you see on Pinsir on its body. The rest of the main pose is unchanged. Let's get on the right layer. This sort of come at me bro pose is straight up taken from Cacturn, but I went and took the little spikes it's got, since it's a cactus, and made them a lot sharper, both on the arms and the legs. And then the biggest note is the maw going down the front of the body, which I've done on a lot of the Pinsir ones because it's fun. And so it's got this row of teeth, like smaller incisors and bigger fangs lining this whole thing that goes down the body. Very Dark Souls gaping dragon. Starlight asked, Japeel are the ones we can do, right? Yeah. So you want to look for fusions that don't have a custom sprite. The Japeel ones are the auto-generateds. And so that'll be a good place to start. We can do fusions for other ones that exist already. They'll just become alts. So like the Haunch Crow Articuno one was for a fusion that had pretty cool looking custom sprite already. So mine just becomes an alt that people can choose from. Starlat said Roserade and Vulpix. Okay, I can pin stuff, right? Can I pin multiple things? I'm gonna pin these, that way we can take a look and see. Oh, it's one at a time. Okay. I will pin Sourlads first. And I see yours, Lava King, Gengar, Kecleon. That sounds really interesting too. We'll take a look at the options and then we'll choose. I think I have time to do a few of these here if I work quickly. So let me get through the cleanup on this one, and then we'll take a look, because I have to grab the assets for all of those. I don't have sprites for Roserade, Vulpix, Gengar, or Kecleon. I think I just need to change the shadowing slightly on some of these spines. The body, I think, is okay. The pincer horns on this one, I think, are also okay. Again, I don't really know exactly what people were pointing out. I just said, add a comment that was line work. Okay? Yeah, I think the shading around the head and body is alright as well. Maybe we can add a little here. Like that on the neck. Also, for the suggestions that you folks are dropping in the chat, if we don't get to them today, I can always write them down and work on them off stream as well. So there's also that. Iconic says Apom and Ninkata. Oh, okay, that's a good one. All right, let's go ahead and save. This one is going to be pretty subtle. I guess we'll see if people have any other comments on this one when I post it. Mostly it's the shading around the spines is what I changed. Everything else is more or less the same. Okay. And do you remember to render these and drop them in the Discord? Okay, so let's see. I'll go and grab the assets for all the ones you folks have suggested right now. That way I don't have to do it more than once. First, let's go do Roserade and Vulpix. We can figure out what gen is Roserade. Is that 3? 4? I'm looking at the big comprehensive sprite database to find one to use from there. It's got everything. Or is it 5? I wonder if this thing will let me search. That was probably faster. We saw a Roserade fusion in the last session. It was the Ponyard Roserade one, I think. It looked really cool. Gen 4, okay. I just have to figure out where it is in the list. It was an evolution, right? Wasn't an evolution that was introduced in 4? Alright, I'll search for it. There you are. What's the difference between the Gen 4 and 5 sprite? They look really close. It must just be shading. I'm going to take the Gen 4 version. Okay. Now, Vulpix, right? Yeah. I'm going to unpin these. There should be a lot of options for sprites on Vulpix. There we go. The Gen 5 sprite looks pretty good. Gen 3 or I'm going to go 5. I think I like the shading on 5. The Gen 4 one is interesting. I don't think I've seen that sprite before. Or if I have, it's been a long time. I did play Gen 4. But it's kind of just like running away slash showing its butt to the camera. I don't think we need to do that. I made an interesting discovery that I was talking about with some folks earlier today from the last playthrough session that we streamed, Infinite Fusion. I posted that funny clip about it was the Rhyperior Rampardos fusion, the drill butt Pokemon. What I found out is anything that you fuse with Rampardos as the body in its Pokemon categorization that's in its Dex entry, it becomes a blank butt Pokemon. So anything that's fused with Rampardos where something else is the head and Rampardos is the body, it becomes a blank butt Pokemon, which is just ripe for antics. I think the one that I sent to some folks I thought was really funny, I looked up, was if you fuse Ghastly with Rampardos as the body again, it becomes the gas butt Pokemon, which is very, very funny to me. Yeah, look it up. Look it up on the Fusion Dex site. Just look up anything that has Rampardos as a body, and then look at the category on the page. Yeah, Lava King says, how's Rampardos butt? Yeah, I think its basic category is like head butt. I'm going to assume it's head butt Pokemon because, again, it looks like a Pachycephalosaur or like a Dracorex. So it takes the butt part and it pairs it with whatever the fusion component is in its category and puts them together. I find that very amusing. Okay, let's go and grab Lava King's Gengar Kecleon. Okay. There's some wild fusions with Gengar. Gengar is probably my second favorite Pokemon in the entirety of the gens, and people do some real cool stuff with it. Let's see. I think I like Gen 4 Sprite. The arms up. Grab that one. Kecleon. Is that Gen 2? Or is it 3? Let's see. Three. Okay. The Chameleon. I think I know what I would do with that one. I think I would go Kecleon head, Gengar body for that one. Or maybe the other way. I don't know. Oh, Lava King says, can I swap Kecleon with Typhlosion? Gengar, Typhlosion. Both your favorite Pokemon. Ah, okay. That one doesn't have a fusion? Or it doesn't have a custom sprite, rather? Let's find out. Seems like the site's loads a little bit slower. Let's see. The one that uses... What is this? Gengar head? Yeah, I think this is Gengar head, Typhlosion body, Genlosion. That one does have a custom sprite already. It's got several alts as well. It's got a bunch. The reverse Typhlosion head Gengar body also has custom sprites. A bunch. Wow, there's a whole bunch of them. Three different very cool looking variants on Tefgar. I guess that's the reverse. So I think we could probably go with the Kecleon one, Lava King, just because there are custom sprites for the Gengar Typhlosion combination. And the ones that are there are really cool looking. I don't know if I could do a better job than those folks. They also did some unique poses, which is kind of cool. Because if we go back and search, let me double check. I'll make sure for the Kecleon one. Let's see what the results look like for this one. This one doesn't have any auto-generated sprites. We'll do this one. Genion. Genion and its flip version, Ketgar. Ketgar's a great name. These two already have custom sprites, Lava King. The Genion one looks like it's got a low transparency, which I didn't even know you could do. I figured that would have been against the rules, but it looks like this one is intentionally a light transparency custom. Aquatic Panic did this one, and then the flipped one is done by Raliv. So yeah, the reason why I linked the Fusion calculator or index site is so that you folks can see the ones that have customs and don't have customs. So let's check the one Sour Lad ran, and just to be sure, that was Vulpix. Rose Raid. Oh, interesting. The Japeel one, it I guess it is auto-generated, but it looks legit. I can't see like weird anti-aliasing errors. It's not a custom sprite because it's not credited to anybody, and the reverse isn't either. But it looks pretty good. I think we can improve on that and make it interesting. Well, that's kind of interesting. Usually the ones that are auto-generated are very clearly auto-generated, like the Roser Picks, the flip version, Grass Fire. That one definitely looks auto-generated. You can tell because it's fuzzy. But the Volraid, maybe I guess the tail behind looks a little bit fuzzy. But if you didn't look too closely, that one would pass for a custom, I think. Okay. I want to do I think I want to do that combination instead of the other way around. Let's see, we got a Hydrate from Iconic. So let's pull down the assets and take a look what we've got. There's Roserade. And put you here. Now grab Vulpix. And we'll drop that in a separate layer. And we'll take a look at the combination here. Okay, so what are some of the noteworthy design elements for each? Obviously, we have the kind of floofy hair and tails on Vulpix. Kind of its more standout elements. Then on Roserade, we have it's kind of almost looks like it's wearing a mask. It looks like kind of like a superhero almost with the cape, and then the flowers on the hands. Hmm. I almost wonder. I might change my stance here. I think I might want to work with the base for Vulpix and then add some elements from Roserade. So Vulpix body, Roserade head. Because we could do things, we could do some really fun stuff with the base form of the Firefox here. We could take the hair and give it the kind of silvery hair from Roserade. And then for the tails, we can make them like multicolored flowers. And so the base palette would be Roserade as the head. So instead of being a mix of oranges, browns, and reds, it'd be kind of a mix of the lighter green colors, or basically making like a flower Vulpix. And the reason why I think that would be interesting is if we did the evolution at some point, and let's say we kept Roserade as the staple, and then we had the evolve form for Ninetales. I think we could do some really cool stuff with the themes and kind of evolve them. I don't know if we necessarily do that here, but that would be kind of an interesting way to do it. So let's start there. Whoop, back here. So let's so add a mask, poof up the hair and flower tail. Yeah, that's it exactly. So what I was originally thinking, where's my stylus? Originally, what I was thinking, let's do the body first, and we're gonna go lightest tone. There's 3 shades here. So if we did a quick carryover, actually maybe we'll do it this way. One thing I started doing on these, just to keep my colors straight, is I started doing a color palette layer just so I can keep them all straight. So if we did Roserades up here, for the greens, we've got this light seafoam color. And we have mid-tone. That's not the mid-tone. Have this sort of gray-green color. We have a darker green here. There's actually a lot of shades. What happened to my settings? Accidentally locked my canvas. There we go. We have that color. And then this color. There's a lot of greens here. That includes the outline, I think. Sarah says fancy little guy at a party or walking flower bed. Yeah, I think that's an interesting take on the design. Instead of a fire fox, like a flower fox. Okay, for the whites, we've got this color. I think only two tones on the whites. Oh, there's a line color too, I think. Like that. This, I think it's the same colors. Nope. I think that's the same shade. I can look at the values later. We've got yellows. And this is one shade of yellow. Two shades of red. Or pink or magenta, I guess it is. We've got. Oh, is the eye the same color as the flower bouquets? I think it is. Figure out where my toolbars went. There we go. Yeah, three shades. I think these ones on the hands are the same color as the eyes. If not, I would just use the same shade rather than make. Yeah, I think that's close enough. Then the blue. Three shades on the blue. Okay, I think that's the entire palette, not counting the black. So it says like add the cape and have the flower bloom on it like a dress. We'll see if we have enough space for the cape. I had an idea about maybe making the tail with the pattern of the cape, but making the colors of the tail cape the colors of the flower bouquets. I also had an idea of making each of the little things on the tail, instead of being these like coiled fur things, being flowers there. So a couple different ways to approach that, I think. But first, and this is something I've been trying to do to see if it helps, is since we know I did not want to put that on that palette. Or that. That's not going to be good. I wanted that on its own layer. Okay. Hold on, let me fix that. There we go. What I think might be easiest is to do color assignment first on just the main body for Vulpix here, and then carry over the colors from the palette, and then we'll start editing details. So what I mean by that is, since we know the lightest shades are here and its body is going to be green, Sorry, I had a phone call. My brother frequently calls me when he's driving home, which is right about now since we're in the same time zone. But he doesn't follow me on any platform, so he never knows when I'm streaming. But it's all good. I see a stretch from Sourline. Okay, so what I was saying to recap is I'm gonna match up the colors, at least on the body. I just thought that it would also affect the lines. So let's take a look here. We're gonna do color fill, and we'll go down, make sure we're on the right layer. I'm gonna start the lightest shade of green and match it up to the highlights. Then the next shade of green is here. Next shade is down here. And for the hands, I'm going to leave that where it is. I think that might be good to do highlights, but we'll leave the hands where they're at. Hands and feet. Maybe we could do yellow. We need yellow for that. That's a good idea. And we might have to grab a slightly darker shade. For the rest of it, or a lighter shade. Something like that. And I'm just looking at the lines. We have to be careful with the lines. I might go darker on the lines here, like so. These are not native colors, so we'll see if I get in trouble for that. What I'm going to do is go through here. Oh, it's the nose. Okay. I'm going to try and match up the color tones as best I can. I'll probably have to tweak that, since I always end up tweaking where the lines fall. And for the eyes, I definitely think we want to go something like this. You can always fix that later. And for the ears, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with the inner ear color. I'll figure that out in a sec. Okay, let's go ahead and save our progress here. In fact, let's do placeholders on the hair too. For the tail, I'll leave that till later, but for the hair, if we did the same thing, would go, I guess this color is the lines. This is just going to be in placeholder. I'm going to probably delete that whole section out anyway. But for the sake of consistency, well, I see the line work actually makes that really complicated. Okay, I'm not gonna do placeholders. I'm just gonna delete it all out. So what I had kind of in mind here, on the wrong layer again. Well, that actually works in this case. Let's do this instead. We're gonna give Vulpix a haircut. And it's a good chance to fix the line coloring, sort of the top of the skull. Okay, move you out of the way. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the hairstyle, this is going to be kind of interesting to mess around with, of Roserade, and we're going to try and duplicate that to some extent. And we might need to go more forward swept than that on Vulpix here. Okay, that's not a bad start. And we fill down the colors. Now I gotta think of the shading. Light source upper left again, so we're probably gonna be down like that. Iconic says, this is already shaping up to be good. Oh, thank you. And thanks for the save reminder. Fortunately, we have a small subject to start with here. That makes it a little bit easier. What if we took the coloring from Roserade's, I guess, like, eye highlights? And instead of going darker, we use that to give a mask. Might have to shade a little bit. Actually, we can do that with the line work, I think. Nah, there's not going to be shadowing there. The shadowing might be up here instead. Like around the eye. Might have to kind of play around with that a little bit. I think it might have been Sour Lad. Yeah, Sour Lad said add a mask. I think it's an interesting addition. And I'm on the wrong layer again. I'm doing that a lot today. Well, fortunately, and this stuff doesn't overlap, but it's really annoying every time that happens. Alright, let's fix that. Okay, next up, oh, we need to do something about the color of the fur on the chest too. We can go with a lighter color here, or we can go white. Same color as the hair. I think that makes more sense. Having two-tone fur patterns. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to give Vulpix another haircut on its rear. And I'm actually going to put that on a separate layer just so I can refer to it if I need to. And then I'll fix the anti-aliasing around the deleted section. Let's put you over here. So now the question becomes how to render the flowers so that it doesn't look like this thing is just ejecting flower blossoms straight out of its rear. As funny as that would be, that is not the intended effect. I think I'll do it in black first, because I'm going to need to rough this in, and then I'll do the lines accordingly. So one thing I initially thought was just copying this stuff right here on Roserade's hands, the bouquets, and then just straight up pasting them here, but I think that would look like it's got like a flower bouquet shoved right in its rear. Again, not the intended effect. Conk says, "Be right back." All right, we'll be here. Let's try this. Might be able to make this work if we just clean up the shape of each of these flowers. So instead of looking like kind of like a coiled fan, like Vulpix's tail normally does, it's going to look like a cluster of flowers. I think that could work. Okay, I think that's not bad, given it was pretty much just an approximate guess. Okay, I think we can work with that. But the lines are going to be a challenge. Basically, what I want to do here is take these sort of blossom-looking things, and two of them are going to be red, two of them are going to be blue. So it's going to look like a flower assortment. I think the best way to do it would be to just line in the ones that I want blue. And I want to kind of alternate them here. And then red. And likewise, the shading is also going to be tricky here. And I think what we can do is we can color fill with the light tones, and then I'm going to have to guess on how to shade this to make it look decent. We'll start with this and then kind of look at the way the lighting is hitting, again, coming from this direction. I think there'd be more heavy shading down here because this lower one is essentially underneath this one up here. It's casting a bit more of a shadow. Now let's take a look at the rest and start trying to clean up some of the sections. I think I'm going to leave the brown tan shades here in the inner ear. I'm looking at the main palette and seeing if there's anything else that makes sense there, but I think it's okay. We're going to have kind of a high color count. We'll have to take a look at that. But I think that's pretty functional. I gotta fix the nose. Actually, maybe not. Maybe we do this. I think these shadows are supposed to be this color here on the nose. Oh man. Wrong layer again. There we go. Okay. Let us take a look at our results here. I think this one was a good one to start with. A little bit more simple compared to some of the other more nightmarish ones that I've worked on here. I want to fix something with the shading on the tail. Okay. We've got our color palette. I think the far ear is obscured by the hair, which is fine. I was debating whether or not to leave it there, or try and just cover over it. I think it's fine that way. Let's smooth the shading on the hair a little. Nah, it's too much. Oh, there's another thing I need to do. You folks won't be able to tell, but it's something that happens every time I put assets together when drawing these custom sprites. Some of the tones are slightly different, so I usually sweep through for all the sections that are in black specifically, and quick fill them because sometimes they're different shades. And what I'll do is I'll run this through the pixel checker, and we'll make sure before we move on that we don't have any similar shades. But it's always the black tones and the white tones that happens. And another I'm on the palette layer again. Man, I should look and see if there's a way to just lock layers out. That's one thing I don't do in Photoshop. But today, for some reason, I keep coloring on the wrong layer, and that's not good. Fortunately, because we're working with pixels, I can basically just copy stuff over and then remerge it. It's not a big deal, but I've done that more times than I usually do. Okay, so now I'm going to form fill all the black outlines real quick. There we go. We'll save this. And so this one is called Roser Picks. Roser Picks, its Fusion Dex number is 35237. That doesn't really mean much, I know, for people watching, but that's how I have to organize these because that's what it'll be when I post them. So put you here. This is going to be 35237. That number in the Fusion Dex comes from the head's number and then the body's number. Hence the 352 is Rose Raid's number and 37 is Vulpix's number. Now, I gotta pull this up on another screen. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go to the pixel checker site and see if anything needs to be fixed. Hopefully not, since this one's fairly straightforward. Change this one's name. Roser Picks. Okay, so 23 unique colors. Good lord. Not counting the white space. Oh, I think I'm missing some. I didn't do the eyes, did I? The black outlines around the eyes. Nope, that's exactly where those are pinging. Okay, there's a stray white pixel somewhere, which... Is it this one? Nope, it's not that one. Okay, yeah. I gotta... Oh, no, it's probably this one here. No? No, it's not that one. Okay. Like I mentioned before on stream, I think I showed the way the site works as well. When people do the QA checking for the sprite work and they offer feedback, they'll run the posted pings of the sprites through the site that I'm using, and they'll point out if there's duplicate colors or similar shades, because you want to have as low of a shade count as possible. So if there's similar ones, they'll point that out so you can fix it. Okay, there's 2 browns. I'm just going to change that here. We'll make it 2 shades on the ear, and that should be fine. That'll eliminate that one. And a white shade somewhere. There it is. That's probably from when I cut the original tails off. Okay. Now, if I save this and re-upload it, I should shrink it down by 3. And we might need to simplify it some more. Nope, that wasn't the stray white pixel. That means it's somewhere else. Okay. I'm not going to spend a ton of time trying to figure out the stray pixel. I'll try one more time. And it's something I can always do later before I actually post this thing. Oh. That might be why it's doing that. I didn't realize I was on a separate layer. Okay, well, gotta merge that down. That might fix the problem. Now run it again. Nope, still a stray white pixel somewhere. Well, that's annoying. Oh yeah, It's that spot again. Interesting, why is it doing that? That spot might be what's causing the problem. I just don't know why it's showing up there. Thought I erased it. Okay, now it's gone. Okay, let me upload it one more time. If it's still there, I'll figure it out later. I'll probably have to do some final QA on the image before I post it anywhere anyways. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't deleting. Okay. So that one's gone. 20 unique colors is kind of high. Again, we can discount the blank space. I think that's one thing they don't take into account. So 19 unique colors. Let's see. What can we simplify? Each of the tails, that's 3 colors right there. We can't do much about that. 3 colors times 2, so that's, yeah, 6 shades on just the tail. Let's see. What if we did... Okay. I think the brown shades are a part of the problem too. Could reduce it by another 2 if we did yellow on the inner ear. See how it looks. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not terrible. I don't dislike that. Okay, that should get us down to like 18. You know, I'm gonna paste this into my main Chrome browser, so I'll have to keep pulling it up in another one. So we'll be doing this in the future. Now I just need to go grab the updated ping. We'll upload it and see if we've shrunk down by two shades. And then I think I'll probably call it good for this particular drawing and move on. Yeah, okay. That shrinks us down to 18 unique colors. Still a bit high, but because the reference has got so many colors on it, that's kind of unavoidable, I think. We'll see. Not exactly sure what we could reduce, since the body, everything is 2 shades of shadowing. Like the hair has 1 shade, white, gray. The yellow bits have like this yellow part and then slightly darker color. Everything has got only 2 shades of shadow on it. So it might just be because we have so many colors. How many shades of some of my other ones that I got approved have? Haunch Crow one would have been like 12 or 13? 15. The Pincer Pidgeot. Okay, that was 17. Okay, that one got through fine. So I guess if we keep it under 20, it's probably all right. Sorry, I gotta leave. Bye, everyone. All right, sorry, lad. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was interesting, and hopefully you're pleased with the results of the one you requested. It was fun to draw, and I kind of want to do the evolution at some point with Ninetales and Roserade. But have yourself a good evening, and I'll catch you later, my dude. Guess we could. We only have one section with this lighter color. I guess I could take that out. That makes only 2 shades. Forgot about the highlight. We'll save this version, and then I'll think if I want to tweak anything else. But for now, I think we're good. So that gets us to 17 total shades, I think. Lava King says, nosebleed suck. Took 11 minutes to get it all out. Oh, that sounds really annoying. Hopefully it's taken care of, or you're not shooting geysers of blood out of your face holes. And this one's Roser Picks. Getting wrong layer. Okay, you stay there. Okay, I'm gonna keep Roserade's palette. Might need that for the evolution. I can delete a reference. Clean up my canvas here. All right, so we're gonna move on to the one that Lava King suggested, and let me pull in the assets. I'm gonna kind of explain, since I don't know if you were here when I was explaining the components, Lava King. So let me paste them in here, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So we want Gengar. And Iconic's back. Welcome back. You're just in time to see the finished results for the first fusion. Now we're moving on to the second one. And we need Kecleon. There you are. Bro, the shading on that Kecleon sprite's all over the place. That's interesting. Okay. Iconic says, great stuff. Oh, thanks. That first one was interesting. Simple. I think it's got a lot of potential for that evolution of that I'll think about doing at some point too. So, again, shout outs to Sour Lad for the suggestion. Okay. So, originally, Lava King suggested Kecleon and Gengar as fusion components. And then later, Lava King was talking about doing Gengar and Typhlosion because it's Lava King's favorite two Pokemon. So I mentioned this earlier. I'll just recap it again in case Lava King wasn't here when I was explaining it. The Gengar Typhlosion combinations of both, either Gengar head, Typhlosion body, or the other way around, already have custom sprites. A lot of them, actually. Several alts. Okay. So you heard what I was saying about doing it for the Kecleon Gengar fusion instead, since there aren't any customs for that, Lava King. I just wanted to make sure you heard me so you didn't think I was ignoring you. I think we could do some interesting stuff with this. I'm thinking we do Gengar body, Kecleon head. And we kind of take the idea of this chameleon-like creature, and then we give it some real nightmare fuel with Gengar. And I say that only because, one, Gengar's main body sprite is shaded a lot more simply than Kecleon's. Kecleon's lines and everything is kind of a nightmare, and working on that as a base for the body would be very difficult, I think. So my initial thought, and we could do the same thing we did before. I'm going to have to simplify Kecleon's palette. There's a lot of shades there. That'd be probably like 30-something colors if we combine these. Because there's even a mid-tone. It might be hard to see because I'm not zoomed in super close. But there's like a 4 or 5 shades of green. We can simplify that down to like 2. So our lightest shade up here looks like this. Secondary shade, we'll take the darker of the two. Looks like this. And the line art. Very dark green. Almost, it looks really close to the black line art. Then we've got yellow highlight patterns on the face. And we'll take the darker of the shades for the shadowing. And then we've got this sort of pink highlight on the stomach. We'll take the darker shade there. And then the lines are subtly darker. Which I don't think that's... I think it's a little bit lighter, actually. Like that. All right. So how are we going to look at putting these together? What I think would be fun, because again, Gengar is mostly just it's body. It's like a body with a face on it. So what I was thinking to kind of merge these two together would be to completely wipe the face out here, give it Kecleon's sort of round, unassuming eyes, but give it a big, ridiculously huge mouth, and have it have like a bunch of chameleon tongues shooting out. Because one thing you'll see if you look through the Gengar fusions on the Fusion Deck site, a lot of them just go bananas with the different ideas. It's very kind of horror-ish whenever Gengar is fused with something. And so I think that'd be kind of a cool way to merge the design elements together. And so that's going to be a challenge. That's definitely going to be a challenge. So let's do the same thing we did before and assign them the main base palette. And I'm looking at this. Gengar's got 1, 2, 3 levels of shading on its body. Very simple. Light tone, mid tone, dark tone. And then the lines. Kecleon's got a lot. It's got a lot. We might be able to actually assign another tone. But it's going to be really subtly different. So I don't know if I want to do that. I'm almost tempted to just merge Gengar's shades and give it 2 colors. So what I mean by that is, let me do it first here. It's got some slight dithering, which is what when you see that kind of almost like a checker shading pattern, which some of the later gens do more. Okay, I can color fill this. We're going to eliminate the lighter shade real quick here. Yeah, I think that's fine. We're going to change a lot of the details anyway, so the shading patterns are going to be different. But if we do this, now we do like a rough color assignment and add Kecleon's colors to Gengar. Again, it's pretty quick to do. And put that there. Now the lines. Gengar's lines are very dark. That's very dark purple. So I think what I would do, just to placeholder this, I would probably just make everything one color for now. Again, it doesn't matter a ton. In fact, maybe I won't even bother because we're going to delete stuff out. Yeah, we'll worry about the lines later. So what I was saying is, if we go and take the base color for the light green, and now we're gonna basically, I'm gonna save my work here. We're gonna mess the sprite up. First, we take the face off. Face off. And again, can kind of delete the shading out. It didn't really matter where it lies because all the stuff is going to basically be changed. And Kecleon has these kind of black downward sloping eyes. So what I was initially thinking is we take the pattern, and I gotta be a little bit careful where I align this stuff here. I think we're a little bit too long in the eyes. Like so. One initial idea that I had was do kind of like two eyes, basically mirrors here. Let's see if I can do this without messing with the perspective too much. And that is definitely misaligned. Basically doing a mirror on this side. Yeah, it's more or less mirrored. I can always fix that later. So my initial thought was to do something like this and have the eyes here, just really far apart. And then the actual mouth and something like this. And this is a rough approximation of what I'm talking about, but because Kecleon's got these lips, it's hard to tell with the shading. But basically, we could duplicate the patterning of the mouth like lips and maybe do color highlights around these or make the color there. Again, I'm putting placeholder stuff in here just to kind of explain what I was talking about. In fact, let's go ahead and hide you. We'll make Homeboy here in the center. So doing something like this with the mouth, and then I don't know if Kecleon has teeth. I don't think it has. Well, it does have visible teeth, and I'd have to go look and see in some of the art if it's got teeth in its mouth. But basically, my thought was, in fact, this is probably just gonna have to be what I work with here, which is fine. But we could even add teeth, kind of taking some hints from Gengar, give it like nightmare fangs or something like that. Iconic says pot of greed energy. Yeah, kind of. Again, there's parts in here that need to be sort of tidied up a little bit. Like we need to sort of center the mouth. But like, let's say, I don't know, what color is Kecleon's tongue? It's probably like pink, like a fleshy pink. And so the idea would be If I'm gonna put this on a separate layer, that way I don't have to worry about my work. This is just an example of what I was talking about earlier. The idea would be to have like a whole bunch of these tongues, tendrils coming out. And again, this is another layer, so I can just delete this if I need to. If we did something like adding in teeth, again, this is just an approximation of what I'm talking about here. I'll probably delete this whole thing out. Well, let's just use yellow. Basically, here are the lips. And they sort of line the perimeter of the entire mouth like that. And then I think to kind of complete the mouth design here, like drool or maybe kind of like a slime trail, maybe highlighting all of the different tongues just to make it look really gross. And another thing that I was thinking about doing is instead of Gengar's kind of spiky horn ear, I don't know if those are supposed to be ears or horns, but instead of that, give these sort of ridge looking things on Kecleon. So it might be like something that looks like that. Very, very rough approximation. But that was kind of my base idea for how to put these two together. This is probably not going to be something I'm going to be able to finish today because this is much more complicated than the one we saw before. But I think that's a good avenue to go here. So let's kind of clean up the area here and start just working from each section. And I'll just keep that there as something I can refer to later. We could even do something if we want to get really kind of wild and wacky with it. The eyes don't have to be an exact copy of what they look like for Kecleon. Like if we wanted to go like serious nightmare fuel, make them bigger. In fact, I think that looks more unsettling. And where's my reference for Kecleon here? Looking at the patterning on I guess these are ridges. They're not ears. I know Kecleon isn't supposed to have ears. So they're like these ridged frill things. Kind of an interesting design element. But they've got these sharp edges to them. You can tell they're very pronounced. It's one of the things in the line art you can actually see. But the shape is kind of hard to manage. I don't like the way that looks. Okay, we're gonna take some artistic liberties here just to make it easier to draw. I think what I can do is give a different texture to the spikes and then actually give them the coloring. Like I kind of want to do these stripy patterns across the face just like Kecleon has, like right here. And so what we could do is we could change the shape of these slightly and then make it more pronounced and obvious when we do the coloring. And we can even change the shape of the head here. Make it round. Okay, yeah, I think I like that better. And we'll just fill it down with the right color. Come on. Might need to recalibrate my stylus. I think I'm misclicking by like a pixel. What I'm going to do is sort of rough in the lines where I can. And the shading is going to have to be completely redone. That's fine. I'm not too worried about that. The same thing over here. Now for the area around the mouth. Again, the way this is shaded on the reference sprite is very kind of messy because it's from a different generation. What if we just made it yellow? I think that's the easiest way to do it. It'll be kind of yellow with some... We could do some texturing on it to actually make it look... We can make it look like it's got some variance to the shade. Iconic says, since the body and head are one, maybe the red thing on Kecleon's belly could go down vertically on the fusion. And it look like it's sewn on. Oh, interesting. You mean like just like a zigzag pattern going down like this? That's an interesting idea. Let me take a look at that. I think you are onto something, Iconic. And I think it could be interesting because we're gonna have to put yellow patterning around the eyes as well. But I do like the idea of including that pink mark because it is part of Kecleon's design and palette. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there, and I'll see if I can play with the patterning a bit. I don't want to get too busy with all the markings, so I'm gonna leave that there for now. But I think that's a good place for it. What I'm doing is I'm just color filling everything else black here because it's all gonna need to be overhauled at the end. Yeah, I have to, looking at the way this is bounded, I should do something like that. Now let's talk about teeth. Let me save this first. I'm gonna go look up some reference images, see if there's anything of Kecleon with its mouth open. I'm gonna guess it doesn't have teeth. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, all the show renders, in-game renders, and fan art I can see of this thing, it doesn't have teeth. I can't for the life of me remember if actual chameleons have teeth. I think they do. Okay, that's good to know. Well, it wouldn't be Nightmare Fuel without teeth, so I'm giving it teeth. I just wanted to know from a reference perspective. And we're gonna go kind of triangular, jagged-looking fangs, but I want them to be irregular lengths, not all the same. And shading on these is going to be interesting. I'm thinking like a darker gray shade and maybe drool. We'll see with the tongues. I don't think I want to go like 5 tongues like in the placeholder one I did, which is down, where did I put it? Here. I ended up moving it. It's fine. But definitely more than one, because one tongue is boring. Multiple tongues is unsettling. What color? Oh, I shouldn't have closed that search result. Yeah, it looks like they're rendered. It's kind of like a fleshy pink. It's not the same color as the marking on the belly. It's close though. Yeah, it's kind of like a fleshy pink salmon. It's salmon colored. Okay. So if we were gonna do that, we'll go another layer. We're gonna do some placeholdering again. Now that we have kind of a reference point with the mouth. Let me take a look at this here. I think we want to have the tongues look like they're coming from a central point in like the back of the mouth, like the throat. That's going to be something to kind of play around with perspective wise. Let me see here. I think I know how to do it, but it's going to probably take some fiddling. It's funny because one of the other designs I'm working on has a very similar concept, just not with tongues. All right, let's see. What if we made the central point like somewhere back here? I don't think I like the way that looks when they're connected. The other thing I was thinking that could be a little bit easier way to do it would be to have the tongues coming from behind the teeth, essentially. So you don't see wherever they're anchored. They're just kind of looking over the edge of the fangs. It's a little bit of a cop out, but that might be the easiest way to do it without getting too complicated. Maybe 5. And just have them sort of materializing from the void inside the mouth. I think the shading is going to be important if we do it this way, in order to show the perspective and what layer not priority, but what layer hierarchy. Since if we don't shade it right, it's going to look like some of the tongues are in front of the top row of teeth when we want them behind. So that's going to be a difficult part of this one. but I think we can work with this. Like I said, I'd like to get the kind of the groundwork for this in place today on the stream, and I'll need to refine it for a while. This one's probably gonna take a bit to fully do, but I can definitely post in the Discord when I finish it so that everyone can see. Especially Lava King, since he's the one who recommended this combination. All right. I'm going to keep the tongues here. On another layer, and when I shade it, I can always merge it together at the end. That should be fine. Now, let's see. Before we start to wrap up, let's see how we can take the yellow stripy bits around the face and adapt that for this one. This is going to be tough because it's going to start getting really messy if I try and duplicate this exactly. I think I'm going to go a different layer for this too. We definitely want the top parts here to have the color. So like this part would be bounded entirely. If we did the same thing over here. That's not terrible. I don't know if I like that. I think keeping the yellow highlights on the top of these kind of spiky bits here is good, but I think trying to wrap them around the face is getting too busy. So what do I mean by that? What we could do to sort of bridge the gap is keep the highlights up here. And I might have to change this. It kind of looks like it's got little Krusty the Clown hair spikes on the side of the head, which is definitely not the intended effect. We could reduce down the color. So instead of being that aggressive, make it more like highlights. Something like that. All right, let's hide you. I'm gonna have to think about that. I could also change the patterning, so it's not just round. That could be what's giving that effect. We could make it spikier, just not as sort of spiky as Gengar in the same pattern. To think about that too. Kind of a lot of moving parts with this one, but it's going to be a good challenge. I think we can turn it into something really cool. It's just going to take a lot of work. We could even, another idea. We could highlight the hands. And the feet, if we wanted to. Actually, Kecleon does have that on its hands and feet. Okay. Obviously, we'll have to mess around with the shading here. But I think that's a good compromise and a way to deal with that. Okay, let's merge you down. That's what I was thinking initially. Let's move the palette out of the way here. What I was thinking as far as the head, and I'm going to have to try to mess around with it and see. Instead of kind of going with the spiky ridges on the side, we could do. This is a little bit exaggerated, but we could do like a row of spikes going along the top. I don't want this thing to look like it's got anime hair either. We're not doing a Super Saiyan Gengar Kecleon fusion. So I don't know. I have to think about it. Because we could go spikier over here. Maybe something like that. A couple different options. I just think we're going to need to do something. We could even, if we really want to go off the rails with it, instead of kind of following the pattern that Kecleon has, we could go like up like that. We could basically give this thing devil horns and color them with the accent colors of the yellow like Kecleon's got, which I think would be kind of interesting. It might actually look better than what it does now, because it doesn't have to be exact. Let's do an alt version and see before we wrap up. Just for the sake of science. We like science here. This is kind of veering into pincer territory a bit, but I think as long as we don't make it look like appendages versus just regular horns, it should be okay. One thing you'll see if you look on the Fusion Index site at the fusions with Gengar, a lot of them look just demonic. The design elements that people have thrown in there, which are really cool, just look very horror, demonic, and it's cool. I definitely dig it. If you look at the self fusion, I think it's a self fusion for Gengar. It looks kind of like a big fiery like Oni face mask. The self fusion for Gengar is gnarly. I think it'd be really cool to have that one. And that's not drawing from any specific design element. The artist is just like, I'm just going to make this thing look like a giant fiery Oni. Okay, let's fill this down. And so if we went with this particular design, in order to keep the kind of theming, we give the highlights up here like this. I think I like that a little bit better. Could probably play around with the shading a little bit to give it more of be kind of a ridged look, which that's a little bit more tricky because of how finely the details need to be to give it that texture. But we could definitely do it. Let's see if I can duplicate this on this side. I might have to play around with this a little bit. But if we do that, then it looks kind of more like the ridges on Kecleon's head, which is the effect we're going for here. What we've kind of drawn, for folks who may have played Monster Hunter, it almost looks like Gengar fused with a Puke, which is like a chameleon-looking wyvern. Which I think I can definitely work with that. What happened to the tail? Let's compare that to the original. I like the horns. I like the horns better. So I'm gonna keep the other one hidden for now, but I'm gonna work off of this one. So if we take this and we add the tongues, essentially our base design, again, no shading, no real dedicated shading yet. But I think we definitely refine this design down, and I can tweak it a little bit, and I think this will be pretty functional. But it's a good start. I'll post some updates once I finish this one, since people saw me working on it. I think it'll be an interesting one to kind of submit. Shading on the tongues is also going to be a challenge. But more to come, so let's kind of do a wrap up. I thought we'd be able to do 3 of these today, but this one ended up being a challenge. This one is Kecleon palette. Alright, let's zoom out and do kind of like a wrap up. So this one, put a pin in it. I will report back once I've made progress and or finished this one. The other one that we did, which is down here, much more simple, and this one was more manageable. And this is Roserpix, Roserade, and Vulpix. I think before I look at posting this one, I will work on an evolution for it, taking a lot of these ideas, and I kind of had this idea in mind for taking like the 9 tails, and instead of it being, you know, like the 9 fox tails, taking the Roserade bouquets and making like flower petals, like multicolored flower petals, maybe in like a peacock pattern. as an idea that popped in my head as I was drawing this one. And then taking the coloring and making the coloring identical to do kind of like a flower fan tail instead of the regular tail. I think that'd be really neat. Like alternating reds and blue petals for the tail. We'll see. But I think we will go ahead and call that a stream for today. So let me see who is online that we can raid. And spread some good vibes elsewhere. Let's see. Dio's online. I wonder how her trip to Japan went. Where's my list? Dirt's online. Not a lot of other people I know. We can go raid Dio Fest. Let's do that. She's playing Ultra Kill. I do not know Ultra Kill, but I've heard of it. Okay, so let's see. Let me pause BGM. We'll go to outro. And so once again, we will wrap up for today. Thanks for everyone who came and hung out, and watched me experiment around with Pokemon sprite art. We will be back Friday in the early afternoon. I am actually off that day. Switch my schedule around. I might start earlier. We'll see. Depends when I wake up. But we'll be showing off a new game that's gonna, I think, be a somewhat long play for the channel. And we're gonna alternate between that one, Infinite Fusion, and then next week we'll be back to Blasphemous. We're gonna be working on Blasphemous, and I'm gonna beat it at some point. But Friday we'll look at something new, very different type of game than we've seen so far, but it's a fun one to explain, so hopefully you folks will find it interesting. Like Iconic is saying, for those that are celebrating Thanksgiving this week, have a happy Thanksgiving. To my soldiers out there on the retail front lines on Black Friday, may all of the powers that be with you, and good luck. But I'll catch you folks later. Now let's go see what Dio's up to.